All right, welcome back to Eastern Healing Land, all of yous guys. Um, and at this point, you will have already taken the first quiz of the class, which is about all of those foundational traditional Chinese medicine concepts that we were looking at in the past weeks. Now it is time to take a look at traditional Chinese medicine, organs, and meridians. Everyone just loves to love on the meridians, which to me as a practitioner is a little bit odd slash funny because without the base knowledge of the other stuff, the meridians are kind of useless. Like, okay, here are the meridians, but what do you do with them? If you don't understand yin and yang, if you don't understand 5 elements, if you don't understand especially excess and deficiency, what is it exactly you think you will be doing with meridians, So the meridians are how we access the body and access the qi of the body in particular. I mean, all of the vital substances really, but qi is most of the time the one that we're getting after. So I'm going to start by quoting my traditional Chinese medicine textbook, like my big thick one, The Foundation of Chinese Medicine by Machiosia is how I'm going to pronounce the author's name. Might be wrong, apologies if so. So what he says in his book is, when studying the Chinese theory of internal organs, it is best to rid oneself of the Western concept of internal organs entirely. Western medicine sees each organ only in its material, anatomical aspect, whereas Chinese medicine sees each organ as a complex energetic system encompassing its anatomical entity and its mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects. The basis of Chinese medicine is qi, which assumes different states of aggregation or dispersal. Thus, the aggregation of qi into dense matter forms the internal organs, whereas the dispersal of qi in more subtle states forms their emotional, mental, and spiritual aspect. Each internal organ is therefore not simply an anatomical entity, although also that, but an energetic vortex that manifests in different states of aggregation in many different spheres of life. In fact, each organ is correlated with a particular emotion, tissue, sense organ, mental faculty, color, climate, taste, smell, and more. Okay, so let's break that down for a minute. When we were talking about qi, about universal qi, and about how it is what the whole universe is made out of, and when it condenses, it forms solid things like rice, right? Matter, dirt, your physical heart, your physical liver. And when it disperses, that's when it forms more insubstantial things like your shen, thought, and consciousness, your I don't know, like the steam coming off the rice, right? Cooking the rice. And so it's not just that in traditional Chinese medicine, the organs are seen to be correlated with particular or have relationships to particular mental, emotional, spiritual things. It's that the organs are the dense physical part of the energy pattern that makes up those mental, emotional, spiritual things, right? So we talked about liver being a wood organ, and therefore it's related to the pattern of reaching out from yourself, whether that's reaching out in anger or in like benevolence and helpfulness. So from the traditional Chinese medicine viewpoint, there is a pattern of energy within ourselves that wishes to reach out into our surroundings, to reach out from ourselves and affect the world around us. And when that qi is dispersed and insubstantial, it is expressed in actions and functions and benevolence or anger. And when that same qi is in its condensed state, that's when it forms the actual physical organ of the liver. So when we say the liver meridian, we don't just mean a meridian that's all about filtering your blood and your physical liver. We're talking about a flow of energy that has like the flavor of reaching out from yourself and the other things that the liver is, like the liver meridian is seen to do. And once again, in Chinese, those meridians are actually not named for the organ. They are named for like the pathway, the vibe of what they're doing. And I don't want to give you too many things to memorize for a 1-credit class, so I'm not going to like massively go into it here, but that's what I'm getting at, is that the qi, the universal qi that makes up our bodies, has dispersed and aggregate or condensed states. And when we're talking, as we go through our organ and meridian little mini unit, when we're talking about the organs, I really want you to not get stuck thinking that we are physically talking about your actual physical liver, your actual physical heart. The goal of traditional Chinese medicine is that we assist the healthy flow of the qi, of the energy, so that the actual physical organ never develops a physical problem. Now, obviously it does in real life, and that's why we have doctors. But in terms of the preventative nature of traditional Chinese medicine, that's the goal, right? So there we have it. So the I keep knocking into this thing. Okay. The meridians are like currents in the body that move qi and the other vital substances around to nourish and energize and complete functions in the body and the psyche. Just like the ocean is all one thing, but there are particular currents within the ocean that go a specific place and have a specific temperament. If you put your ship on this one current, you're going to end up in the Caribbean. If you put your ship on this other current, you're going to end up in Hawaii. They have particular paths, and one might have a like the ocean is all the ocean, but the Atlantic Ocean tends to be more choppy, and the Pacific Ocean, it tends to be more calm, or whatever. So your body is all your body, but the meridians are like currents in the ocean. They're pathways of qi and vital substances that move through yourself to bring those vital substances through, like circulate them throughout the body and bring them where they need to be, so that we can be healthy and vital. All right, so let's talk about yin and yang for a moment, right? Now, yin naturally condenses and sinks down. So all the yin meridians, their natural flow is upwards, because yin sinks down all by itself. So the yin meridians exist to flow that yin goodness back up through the body. That's how it evenly distributes the yin, because the yin wants to sink down, so these currents flow it back up so it can continue to circulate throughout your whole body and not just be stuck in your feet, right? And similarly, yang wants to rise up and expand, right? Yang wants to rise. And so all the yang meridians, the natural flow is down to bring the yang back down in the body and root it down and bring it throughout and distribute it throughout your whole self, right? So that's the gist of the yin and yang, like the direction of the flow. And that will matter later on when we're talking about not just what the meridians are, but like, what do we do with them? That will matter, the flow, the direction of flow in the meridian. We've already, actually, now that I think about it, we already broached this topic a little bit, that if we want to splash the chi out of a meridian, we'll go against the flow. And if we want to strengthen a meridian, we'll treat it with the flow, right? So just like a basic fundamental idea there. But yeah, so the yin, because yin sinks down, all the yin meridians pull the yin back up so it can be evenly distributed. Because the yang rises up, all the yang meridians pull the yang down in our body. Okay. So when I say this, right, so this is the next thing. When I say like bringing the yang down and the yin up, this makes sense only if you understand that anatomical position in traditional Chinese medicine is different than in Western medicine. So in your handout, I have some good little pictures, but I'm going to try to illustrate on this baby doll. So in Western anatomical position, the anatomical position that you became familiar with when you were learning your basic anatomy, the body is like, say this person is facing you, the feet are in a neutral position, and the hands and arms are down at the sides with the palms facing you and the thumbs facing away from the body, right? That's what you learned in tradition, or in Western anatomical position. The face, the palms of the hands, and the toes of the feet are all facing forwards, and all anatomical descriptions are made in reference to that anatomical position. But that's not anatomical position in traditional Chinese medicine. This is going to be tough with this doll, but in traditional Chinese medicine, the arms, like the elbows, are bent with the arms up like this, right? Like this. And the legs are a little bit turned out to the side so that like the inner thigh is forward, if that makes sense. Like your legs are laterally rotated. And what that does is it brings the inner surfaces of the body all to the front, right? So the inner arm is all facing the front. The inner leg is all facing the front. The inside of the throat, the microphone, and the inside of the abdomen and the inside of the leg, they're all facing forwards in that position. And the arms are up here, like with your hands above your head. And then all of the outside, like your outer arm, your back, the outside of your legs, that's all facing the back. So now we have a position of the body where all of the soft inner stuff is on the front, and all of the more durable skin, generally speaking, is more towards the back. And that's anatomical position for traditional Chinese medicine. So when you consider that the arms are up here, it makes the direction of the meridian flow in the arms make much more sense. If you consider your arms being down, then like up and down gets a little confusing in terms of which direction the yin and yang organs are going. But if you remember that this is anatomical position up here, then you can see that the yin meridians will still be going up as they're going out the arm, and the yin meridians will be going up as they come up the inside of the leg. And then the yang meridians will be coming down the arm, down the back of the arm, down the back. So that's an important distinction. My understanding is that they kind of got this position, or this position is related to how babies sleep, and not like as well as like what we consider the inside, the more yin inside parts of our body. So if you've ever watched a baby sleep, they tend to just sleep like with their arms up here and their knees splayed out so that their legs are laterally rotated. And I have a picture of a baby sleeping on your handout, but so what you get with that is you get that position, so because babies sleep that way, and that's reinforced by the fact that those are all like the inner surfaces, more soft, squishy inside surfaces of our body, then that's how they kind of came up with that as their anatomical position. All right, so predictably, the 12 meridians of the body are divided into yin and yang meridians. As I've already been saying, there's yin meridians and there's yang meridians. So predictably, the 12 meridians of the body are divided into yin and yang. When they're talking about I kicked my tripod. When they're talking about the organs specifically, instead of saying yin-yang organs, they say zong fu. So yin is zong, which means organ, but specifically to store, right? So yin organs are where vital substances are stored or produced, right? Because yin collects it, and it creates, and it nurtures, and it's inward, and it is the deep well, right? So yin organs, zong organs, are the organs that create or store vital substances. Yang organs we call fu, which also means organ, but the way that it's written in their calligraphy it's written to imply seat of government, right? Because the government is what was responsible for distributing food and resources. So yang organs don't store or produce fluids or qi, they just deliver it around, right? So they're constantly being filled and emptied and transporting things around. And then I have a little helpful table that helped in your handout. So yin organs / meridian attributes, they're called the zong organs and meridians. They are on the front or interior part of the body. They bring the yin up in the body, and they store or create vital substances. Yang meridians are called fu. They are on the back or exterior of the body. They bring the yang downward, and they distribute vital substances throughout the body so that it can be, your whole self can be nourished evenly. So organs are also seen to have yin-yang pairs. So you'll see, like on the front, you'll have the heart meridian coming out the arm, and then its pair on the opposite side of that limb is the small intestine meridian. So they're in these yin-yang pairs that have relationships to one another energetically. So I've got a helpful table again in your handout listing the organs with their yin-yang pairs and elemental correspondences, which seems testable to me. Just saying. So I'm going to briefly go over that information, but it is in like spreadsheet table form in your handout. So the heart meridian is yin. Its yang pair is the small intestine. It is considered the emperor fire, which we're going to talk about that stuff more next week, I believe. The pericardium meridian is yin, and its yang pair is the triple burner meridian. And that is considered the minister fire. So heart small intestine is the emperor fire. Pericardium triple burner is the minister fire. The lungs are the yin meridian, and the yang meridian is the large intestine, and that is the metal element. The spleen is the yin, and the stomach is the yang, and that is the earth meridian, or earth element. A yin organ meridian is the liver. Its paired yang organ is the gallbladder, and that is the wood element. And the yin organ of the kidney has a yang pair of the bladder and is the water element. So, and that is all in the table in your handout. So in your syllabus, if you're looking at this course and the learning outcomes, it specifically states that one of the learning objectives of this class is to be able to identify the paths of a meridian. So even though as a theory class and not like an application technique class, that's not necessarily what I consider, like if I were just creating the universe all my own self, what I would consider like the most important thing. However, it is a learning outcome that you should be able to look at a picture of a meridian and be able to say, that's the bladder meridian. Oh, that's the heart meridian. That's the liver meridian. You should be able to look at it and tell just by looking. So there, in the next 2 weeks, next we're going to look at yin meridians, and then we're going to look at yang meridians. I will be providing pictures, and those pictures will be the same pictures that I will use on the test. So when you go through the handout, really take the time to notice the details of the path of these meridians. I'll try to point out in the handout and in maybe in lecture the like particular identifying features of those meridians so that you can look at them and be like, haha, there we have it. And I will say, even though, again, I myself think like focusing on the meridians by themselves doesn't do a lot for you, but whatever. In terms of when you go to take your tests, like your licensing exam and your national board exam, traditional Chinese medicine is a subject that is included on those tests. You are expected to have at least a baseline of knowledge on these subjects. So there you go. Keep it in your back pocket and study it, and life is happy. So that is it. Read your handout, look at those tables, think deep thoughts, and post in the discussion board for your points, your participation points for this week. And then we'll have yin meridians, yang meridians, and then we'll do our quiz and move on to the final phase of traditional Chinese medicine before we tackle Ayurveda. So that's all I got for you. Have a good day. Bye, guys.